Hello, folks, and welcome to this hurricane short summary. We are going to be going over 1950s Hurricane Hiki. Hiki is Hawaiian for able, able as in A-B-L-E. The what would become a hurricane was first seen as a depression, duh, by Honolulu International Airport at 0 UTC on the 12th of August. At this time, it is 1,220 kilometers away from the Big Island. The Big Island is also called Hawaii. Apologies if you hear my dogs in the background. Um, the Big Island is also called Hawaii, which doesn't help when the state is called Hawaii. However, I digress from this confusing point. The depression then becomes a tropical storm at 6 UTC on the 13th of August. This tropical storm then becomes a hurricane 3 days later on the 16th of August, and even as a hurricane, this thing is described as pretty small. Really, a lot smaller than what you'd think. Certainly not anything like Typhoon Tip. Probably more something along the lines of Cyclone Tracy, which was the smallest storm on record. I think it's the second now. So just keep in mind a pretty small storm. This storm would also, throughout nearly its entire life, or its early life, I should say, parallel the main islands of Hawaii pretty nicely, keeping anywhere from 100 kilometers to 200 kilometers away. And even with this relatively shorter distance between the islands, we only saw tropical storm force winds even when it was a hurricane. Now, skipping forward to the 17th, after becoming a hurricane, a high pressure bullies Hiki to curve to the southwest, as high pressures do. And then on the 18th, Hiki would actually peak. This peak is anywhere from 85 to 90 miles per hour at a pretty high minimum of 982 millibars. Throughout this point onwards, Hiki would weaken and then finally dissipate on the 21st of August. Hiki is responsible for causing one indirect death and $200,000 worth of damage. So overall, Hiki might not seem like a storm that caused a lot of damage, or is not really noteworthy, but we will see why in a second here, and also the significances of Hiki. First off, this was the one of the first hurricanes within around 45 years to affect Hawaii. Out in the eastern central Pacific, there's not really a whole bunch of land that a hurricane can encounter. You really just have Hawaii, bunch of islands, and Mexico. And Mexico's on the very far coast, and most hurricanes that form out in the Pacific do not usually turn back around. Hawaii is a pretty small target, so for a hurricane to cause Hawaii some damage is relatively notable already. However, the most notable part here was that on Kanaloa Ranger Station on the island of Kauai, they reported 1,300 millimeters of rain. Keep in mind their rain gauge held only 600 millimeters at a time, so they had to empty it twice, which is where that 1,300 millimeter report comes from. This might actually be a little bit of an underestimate, like just barely. Moving on though, the Waimai River would overflow due to some of these rains. The community of Waimai also had to flee. In fact, 200 had to flee from their homes. The islands of Niihau and Lanai saw tropical storm force winds. Niihau saw 48-mile-per-hour winds. Lanai saw 50-mile-per-hour winds. There would also be reported reports of severe damage to the Kekaha powerhouse, a power station on the island. Again, overall, Hiki might not seem this notable, so why the hell am I making a video on it? Why are you making a video on this? Well, officially, Hiki is technically the first hurricane in the vicinity of the Hawaiian Islands. Do not get me wrong, there have been plenty of hurricanes to affect Hawaii before Hiki. The first one happening nearly 50 years before. So, I say a lot, probably not that many. I lied. It's not that many. However, with the database for especially Pacific hurricanes becoming much, much better starting in 1950, the, even the NOAA, the HURDAT, the NWS officially list Hiki as the first hurricane in the vicinity. This is also at the time, it was the wettest tropical system in the entirety of the US. However, it is the second wettest system to date to affect Hawaii and the third wettest to affect the United States. The first is now Hurricane Lane of 2018, and this is beaten now, I believe, by Katrina and Harvey for being overall wettest in the US. Again, at the time, this was the wettest in the entirety of the US. This was also called Typhoon Salome by the Air Weather Service that was at the time positioned in Guam. And I have no idea why the Air Weather Service did this, but this is listed as a thing. Again, don't know why. But however, folks, that is all that I have for Hurricane Hiki. I hope that you all learned something from here, and I hope to see you in the next video. I thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to God this audio is a lot better than what it was last time.